How to achieve financial freedom for yourself and your family. Experts say you are financially free when you can make life decisions without worrying too much about the financial impact such decisions might have, because you're not only prepared, but you also have control over your finances instead of the other way around. Check out the short guide to see how you can start preparing for economic independence today and then build a foundation for long-term prosperity. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you were to ask, I hope you are doing as great as I am. And if you are, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or as well. Today I want to talk to you about how to achieve financial freedom for yourself and your family. Number one, don't spend more than you earn, right? We've heard this before, time and again. It's very important to live within your means. If your goal is to achieve financial freedom, you want to understand that you cannot live beyond your means. So if you are living paycheck to paycheck, now is the time to start realizing that you need to draw a budget, right? Have a complete understanding of your expenses on one end and your income on the other end. This is very important. So another thing you need to do is, if you are a couple, one thing you need to start thinking about is trying to see where, if you can start saving money and where you can cut expenses. Now, if you're single, things might be a little easy, because if you're living with beyond your means, it means you can fix whatever issues, whatever areas of overspending you currently have. You can quickly fix that. But either way, if your goal is to achieve financial freedom for the relationship, for the family, you got to discuss this with your partner. Now, another thing that's very important here is that you need to find a way to track your expenses, and I will talk about that. This is number two. Number two, you want to monitor your expenses. How can you tell if you're living with beyond your means if you cannot track your expenses, right? Now, there are a lot of tools nowadays to track expenses. You can use apps on your smartphone. You can use software, free software, of course. You can download. There are many templates, many budget templates in Excel that you can download, and or you can just go back to the old school, paper and pen and just write down your expenses. Now, this is very important to write everything down. You want to be as detailed as possible. I'm talking starting from rent and groceries, the top items in your budget, all the way to the nitty-gritty, all the way to the little expenses. The chocolate you buy when you come back from work, or the $20 or $30 or $40 you pay to the gym, and that you unfortunately never go to. So you want to have a complete catalog of all your expenses, so you have a complete idea where your money is going. Once you have that, you can monitor your expenses. You know where your money is going, right? You know the top items in your budget, right? You can identify if rent is taking 20% or 30%. And then the reason why you want to monitor your expenses is that you can categorize those costs, those living costs between fixed costs. I'm talking mortgage, rent, utilities to some extent, and variable costs, right? Variable costs will encompass everything from movie fee, to dinner, going out, that kind of stuff. All right. Number three, you want to clarify your goals regarding financial freedom. Now, when we talk about financial freedom, what is it exactly? In its simplest term, financial freedom means that you have reached a certain level in your life where you're comfortable making decisions without worrying too much about the financial impact of those decisions. In other words, if you want to buy a house, you're comfortable that you have the cash to take care of the down payment. If you want to travel somewhere with your family and the total cost is $2,000, for instance, you're comfortable that you have a rainy day or you have a savings account that would basically take care of that. So you're financially free if you don't think twice or three times before making a major purchase. Because financial freedom is not about, you can't measure financial freedom through smaller smaller expenditures. No, you really identify whether you're free or not when it comes to the big tickets, big ticket expenses. That's when you realize whether or not you're free. All right. So financial freedom for you, some experts in the industry have come up with a concept called FIRE. So what they call financial independence, retire early. In other words, the earlier you can be financially independent, the earlier you can retire, right? So this is basically, people trying to save money, people trying to do everything in their 30s or 20s so that they can retire in their 50s and 40s. Nobody wants to work all the way to 60s or 70s, unfortunately, for some of our fellow citizens. But this is what we have right now. So financial freedom, you have to sit down with your partner and find a way and define exactly what that term means to you. All right? I'll be right back right after this. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're still having a conversation today about how to achieve financial freedom for yourself and your family. If you like the content, clarity, and quality so far, please consider commenting on this show. Let us know your experience when it comes to financial freedom. Share this content. We want everybody to, the majority of people to have this data so they can make the best financial decisions for themselves and their families. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. We release new shows every single day, and like it. So the next thing I want to talk about is, once you monitor your expenses, once you've cataloged your expenses and you monitor them and you know that you're not living beyond your means and that you have clarified your goals regarding financial freedom, it's now time to pick a CFO for the family's affairs. Now I'm talking about a chief financial officer. You need to have someone in the household who is committed to making sure the family is financially independent. Now the person can be a wife or a husband, it can be a fiance, it doesn't really matter. It can be an aunt, it can be an uncle, if you are comfortable with that. But experts will recommend that it has to be one of the spouses. Because the last thing you want is your financial affairs going out to other people and then know what's going on in your relationship. You don't want that. So pick someone, usually people say that women are very good at managing money. So, but this is not always the case. You have men who are very, very also committed when it comes to financial stability. So pick someone who is versed in financial matters, maybe because of his or her education, or maybe because of his or her experience. So pick someone who can manage that. Now, if you're single, that means you're going to have to do the job yourself. But again, if you're single, the good news is your finances are hopefully not that complicated. So you can basically manage things yourself as long as you have a budget, right? This is very important. We've done a lot of shows about budgeting and personal finance. So if you want to take a look at that, take a look at one of those shows. This will be very valuable to you. All right. So you need to pick a CFO for the family's affairs, right? Now that that chief financial officer will be, tracking expenses, will be, checking, of course, in cooperation with the other spouse. But the CFO will be taking care of the expenses, making sure that the bank has there's enough money in the bank account to pay all the bills, that the rainy day account is well funded, that the savings account is well funded. All those things that are important, right? Now, number 5, you want to be strategic with bank accounts you open. Any bank accounts you open, you want to be strategic. Why? Because some bank accounts in some institutions, some financial institutions, can really help you reach financial freedom more quickly. I also want to indicate that at this point, it's also very important to, if possible, to actually bundle. This is an insurance terms that I'm using here in banking, but to bundle all accounts with one or two institutions. In other words, you open your 401k, you open your IRA, you open your savings account, you open your brokerage account, you open your checking account with the same institution, or at least two. right? That way you get better deals. You get a lot of perks, and banks love that, and they might even give you some commissions and some some banks have this policy. When you open a new account and you fund it with direct deposit, they would give you after 90 days it will give you $30 or $50 or $100. It all adds up, right? It's all important. So you want to bundle your accounts. You want to be very strategic about which accounts you open. Don't open too many accounts either, right? It's like, this is like credit cards, really, right? You want to look at a bank that is not only convenient in terms of their online and their offline customer service, their products and the services, their retirement interface, right? Their savings interface, and so many things, right? Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to get funds directly deposited into your savings account. Now, the cornerstone of any financial freedom approach here is to have a savings account. It doesn't matter whether you have the savings account in a rainy day, aka emergency fund, or in a normal regular savings account. Now, to really do this better, you can even open a money market account. So you're actually making 1% or 2%, whatever the rate is currently is, on the account, or even a certificate of deposit. Those are instruments that that range in terms of maturity from 3 months to 12 months, and the bank gives you some cash on it. All right, now the thing here is that you can do it very easily when you just tell your employer to, like, when you fill your payroll form, there is a section where the employer will ask you to put information, bank account information, up to 3 or 4 accounts, where you can just basically split the pay. This is very important to automate. You want to automate the transfer, because that way you just forget about the cash. The cash goes every 2 weeks or every week into your savings account, and you just forget about it. And that's fantastic. And the good thing is you can even set up a percentage, right? You can set a percentage for the money to go into your rainy day account. So you can say every pay period, I want 10% or 15% of my pay to go into this particular account. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still here having a nice conversation around the best strategy to achieve financial freedom for yourself and your family. I want to talk to you now about budget. Now, what is a budget? A budget is pretty simple, right? You have in one end, you can have it to the right, to the left, or you can have it on top. So on top, you have income for both spouses, if you're married or living with a partner, or if you're single, it will be your income. And at the bottom, you have expenses, right? So basically, income minus expenses will be your net disposable cash every month. If you are a company, we would call that net income. So the thing here is that you want to cut the budget. You want to find ways to reduce the budget. In other words, you want to find ways to trim your expenses, right? For you to be financially free, ultimately, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. I'm not saying, overnight you have to start eating like, chicken soup every night and not really enjoy life. What I'm trying to say is that you want to look at those discretionary expenses, those variable expenses, those impulsive shopping experiences that cost so much, those things that you don't really need, right? If you go back to your closet right now, you probably have a lot of stuff, including clothes that you've bought. And you bought those clothes and those pieces of clothing, and you never used them. You never worn them. So the idea here is to be more responsible, to have a mindful shopping experience, to have a mindful spending experience, a mindful spending mindset. Right? This is very important. So you want to go, and of course you talk to the CFO of the family, your partner, the one responsible for tracking the company, the relationship, the couple's finances. Make sure that you find a way to make some sacrifices and cut costs in certain areas, right? The next thing you want to do when it comes to achieving financial freedom is to set up a debt repayment program, right? You cannot be financially free if you owe others money, right? It's just it doesn't make sense. So you want to have a way. If you don't have it already, you want to set up a debt repayment program. Now, what is debt? Debt can be anything from credit card, the outstanding balances on your credit card, or your line of credit, your HELOC, your home equity line of credit if you have one, to your mortgage, right? To your student loan, to your car loans, right? Now the thing here is some of those loans have a structured repayment program already. For instance, a mortgage, right? But for others, you want to consolidate. This is maybe time to consolidate. We live in a low interest rate environment. This might be a good opportunity. Of course, everybody's situation is different, so I'm not offering here financial advice. I'm giving general information, but it might be interesting to consider whether or not it makes sense to consolidate your debts, your credit card debts, and have one single lender to pay every month, right? The idea here is that you cannot, just from a mathematical perspective, you cannot be in the plus, in the green zone if you are constantly, in the red, if you're constantly owing money. And remember, the cash you owe is generating interest income for the lender, and interest expense for you. So the sooner you pay it off, the better. So this should be part of your strategy when it comes to achieving financial freedom for yourself and your family. The next thing you want to do is to build a proper rainy day fund. I think I kind of alluded to that earlier when I was talking about emergency funding, but this is important. Now, when it comes to financial freedom, you need to have at least two types of financial savings account. You have the regular savings account, and I'm not even talking about the retirement accounts, right? Those are the IRAs, the 401ks, all those accounts. Or if you have a brokerage account on the side, those I'm not even talking. I'm talking about purely savings, cash that can be accessed ASAP, right? So you got to have at least two. You got to have a regular savings account, right? So this is money that you can just put on the side for some extraordinary expenses. There's a birthday party, the little one is turning 5, or you're having some bar mitzvah, or whatever it is, you're having some kind of a community event, everybody's happy, or grandma is turning has turned 90 years old or 100 years old. This events will call for one-off expenses, right? So it's great to have a savings account that allows you to cover those expenses without blinking. This is what I was talking about when I said financially independent, financially free. Now, you got to have that. You also need to have another savings account, which should be a rainy day fund. A rainy day fund is aka an emergency fund, right? This is the kind of fund that, if something happened, people, God forbid, one of the partners gets into an accident and cannot work and doesn't have any disability insurance, you are able to tap into that rainy day fund. Usually experts will advise people to have up to 18 months worth of coverage of living expenses. In other words, if every month the total of your expenses is $1,000, you want to target anywhere from $6,000 to $18,000 in that savings account called rainy day fund. All right, so this is really it. I'll get back to you right after this. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are about to wrap up today's show. We want to quickly talk about 3 more steps here. If you want to achieve financial freedom, the next thing you want to do, you want to improve your financial literacy, right? You want to take courses, you want to read online. There are a lot of resources nowadays on the internet. You can read financial websites. You have a lot of free resources out there, a lot of free platforms out there that provide solid financial advice. So this is things that you want to read. You need to educate yourself, right? You cannot be financially independent, financially free, if you haven't at least a minimum of financial education. So it is important that you and your partner engage on those issues and are able to enroll in some kind of a financial literacy class. And this could even be a seminar. You can take a class at work. You can take an adult evening class or a weekend class, whatever it is, just do it. Number 11, you want to prepare your legacy. Now, this is very important because when it comes to financial freedom, a lot of people forget about their legacy. Now, legacy means that, when you're gone, right? When you're dead, your children. So this discussion, you need to start talking about estate planning. And when it comes to this, I think this is the kind of stuff where, unless you have the expertise yourself, it's just way better to hire someone who has, a lawyer, an estate lawyer, or a CPA, because when it comes to legacy, you have tax implications as well as legal implications. So it's wonderful if you have a lawyer who is also a CPA or either or, so that you're able to take care of everything from updating the beneficiaries on your financial accounts, right, all the way to minimizing estate taxes. And if you have a retirement account, or if you have life insurance, which is very important, if you have life insurance, you want to make sure that you have no insurance gap, and that where one of you were to pass away, the surviving partner can live decently, right? And the last step in achieving financial freedom is to hire a financial advisor. Now, financial advisors are also important. Again, if you don't have the expertise yourself and you have the budget for it, it might not be a bad idea to hire someone who can constantly monitor, work with the CFO of the family, who can periodically monitor the progress, right? The financial advisor can help with things like financial planning, periodic reviews, investment, taxation, for instance. Now, financial advisor can also help you with information about that, because they have access to research tools that that individuals, that everyday people don't have access to. So he or she might help you in terms of insights into the stock market, into the bond market, right? So this is the kind of thing that you might want to double check and see if that fits your particular situation. The bottom line here is that when you are trying to be financially free, just remember that you have resources and experts out there who can help you effectively. All right, folks. This is it for today. I'm going to wrap up today's show, and just want to quickly give you a recap of today. How to achieve financial freedom for yourself and your family. Don't spend more than you earn. Monitor your expenses. Clarify your goals regarding financial freedom. Pick a CFO for the family's affairs. Be strategic with bank accounts you open. Get funds directly deposited into your savings account. Cut your budget. Set up a debt repayment program. Build a proper rainy day fund. Improve your financial literacy. Prepare your legacy. Hire a financial advisor. Thank you. And until next time, remember, stay financially free, and remain marvelous.